Very good.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Saurabh. Very honored to host this or co-host this along with Sriram. This topic, how best to approach ESG and create business differentiation, is a topic very close to my heart. I have spent close to about 20-25 years in the industry in various roles in India and abroad. And of the past few years, it has been more towards strategy, seeing meaningful growth, sustainable. Then you start actually deep diving and thinking, what is sustainable? And that's what piqued my interest also. And for the last 1.5, 2 years, I have worked extensively in ESG, and last nearly 1 year with NASSCOM in building up our own ESG vision charter, and then how do we execute that? So I'm very happy to have this session. This session is more a very freewheeling. I have some slides which I will show very shortly, and I'll share my screen. But then we'll quickly morph into a dialogue between Sriram and I, and we will also be open to taking questions from you. We have about, I think, close to what sort of 45 minutes to 1 hour total. I think we just spent about 5 or 7 minutes. So let's just move ahead and feel free to put in your questions. We will take the question at the end, just to logically make sure that we complete whatever we have factored in for this session. So thank you for that, and hope you please enjoy the session. I will now just, you all can hear me, right? So I will just quickly now start sharing my screen. Maybe perfect. Okay, so I always start with the basics quickly, just to make sure that we are all on the same page. So what really constitutes ESG? ESG is primarily, what it stands for is environmental, social, and governance. And these are the 3 key themes, which along with traditional financial performance indicators. So every company, of course, whether they are a public listed company or a privately held company, always measures their own growth in terms of financial indicators like what is your top line doing, your sales, your margin, your EBITDA. And then if you're a listed company, you will list a lot of other information in your income statement and your balance sheet about how you're performing quarter on quarter, and then of course year on year. So what we are now seeing is that environmental, social, and governance factors are increasingly being used by your investors, by the market, by your stakeholders, what we call, even also by your prospective employees, about how this company is. And especially from a viewpoint of, is it in a trajectory where it can sustain its growth? Is it factoring in all the unknowns, which are there in the world? And I think ESG therefore also becomes, if you see from a lens of risk mitigation, which I'll come to later. So quickly, environmental, social factors I've listed out there, social and governance factors. There are no surprises. We all know about carbon footprint. We also know that there are measures to curtail that or reduce that. Water efficiency, waste management, biodiversity, everything you do which somehow impacts the environment comes under that. In social factors, it's primarily more towards what we do towards our employees, what kind of a working condition we create for our employees, how diverse, equitable, and inclusive are we as a company, and what we are doing towards bettering our employees' health, well-being, and also their training and development. And also the outward looking of social factors would be towards the community impact. So if you do some measures as per your CSR, you're impacting tech for good, or you're impacting local communities, or you're doing something with NGOs for local schools, etc. That comes in your social factors. And in governance, primarily, it's a very clear and transparent world today. So ethical business practices. I think everyone wants to work with an ethical company. Most of your clients, whether in India or abroad, would want to have someone in the supply chain who they can trust, who doesn't have any audit issues. And also when they work with them on data privacy and info security, that the information is very secure. So all those are now given in today's world. So I don't talk about that too much. A brief background about why ESG has come in and what could be your North Star. We see that, in 2015, the United Nations set up the Sustainable Development Goals. I think this picture on the right, bottom right, is, I think, seen by everyone. And what has been happening is it has become a common language, a vocabulary, which everyone can identify with. So you could be a big company, you could be a country, you could be a city. Everyone can somehow or the other tie in what they are doing to these 17 SDGs. And that's the beauty. They are simple, and yet, when you get into the details, they have below them, they have targets and indicators. So you can relate to something, and most companies do that very well. And I think that would be my first advice to everyone would be that don't think that SDGs are only for a Microsoft or only for an Apple or only for a Novartis or only for a General Motors or in India or a China or a country level. Every company, every organization, even a non-profit organization can somehow tie in what they're doing to these SDGs. And I think Sriram will also highlight that when we talk about that. So that's important to understand. So, you create a clear link there. Why ESG? Just quick background, I'll not get into full detail here, and I'll just quickly give a commentary. So there are many factors which this diagram or this illustration shows. Some are primary and some are secondary. Why ESG has become so critical in our thinking now for the last 3, 4, 5 years. So heightened awareness of climate crisis, I think everyone is aware of. We know about the Paris Agreement that in 2015, I think in COP21, they had said that they will try to limit it as per to 2 degrees of the pre-industrial norms or temperature change. And we are aiming for 2030 to be kind of every 5 years, they do a kind of evaluation. So 2030 is supposed to be a watershed where we should actually be able to cut 40 to 50% of the emission, which is a little bit ambitious, I would say. But we can see this in play. Europe and US had very strange summers, I would say, extremely hot summers, Indian summers literally. And then you also get the flip side, you get a lot of flooding, you get a lot of cold. So you get weather which is very unpredictable, and that also unsettles, the whole geopolitical and also your local communities. So awareness of climate crisis is there. What we see is, which are the more important factors which are in our control. We can see that our stakeholders, and when I say stakeholders, I mean our investors, our clients, our employees, and I'm talking from a company's perspective, are increasingly asking us these questions. So this is something which is coming into play, and it'll just get, more, they'll get deeper and deeper into it soon, because, there's regulation coming into play. So BRSR is already there as per the SEBI guidelines that the top 1,000 companies in India have to also disclose as per BRSR. This is Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting. I think that net will just widen over time. The EU itself has got a taxonomy of, what are green businesses or what are green industries, and they are just making it better and better in terms of definitions and clarity. Those clients which in Europe and US FCC is also, thinking, you need disclosures. So the US is always a little bit in the middle of the path. They don't want to take dramatic measures, but they also want to be fair. So they want to have risk and opportunities well listed from ESG's perspective for most companies which are listed, So ESG becomes a very important factor when you're doing business with companies in the US and in the EU, and increasingly in India also, I would say. Then finally, there's a lot of positive evidence. A lot of studies have been done by McKinsey, by BlackRock, by NYU, New York University. A lot of studies have been done which says, there's a positive correlation. Some claim very directly that, the stock prices will, be a 2% gain if you are doing this much. I want to steer away from all that. I just want to say that, just the way the world is moving towards or morphing towards, I think ESG is not a passing fad. It is not a 5-year plan. It is there to stay. Everything about it is real. So it becomes increasingly important. And that's what my next slide says, that you should look at it. You can look at the concerns about ESG, it's expensive, yes. Do I get an ROI? What happens if I invest and I don't get the impact? There's no standardized framework or reporting guidelines. What do I do? Do I hire a consultant? Do I take a Big Four? So there are many such questions. But also think about the fact that, what does ESG really do for you? So what it does is actually, if you look at it ESG correctly and take it as an opportunity, you will work towards becoming more energy efficient. you will actually consume less, whether it's energy, water, you'll manage your waste better. It has a very positive impact on your bottom line because your costs will reduce or you'll get smarter at your costs. And in our industry, we know we employ so many people as employees. So per person, I think that's the biggest thing. Unlike any other industry where it's a factory or it's another kind of a business, in the service industry, your people are your gold actually. But also every person takes up space. You need to have lease space or actual campus space to house them. Even if it's work from home, they have to come to the office. You have to build that kind of infrastructure, and that consumes energy, water, and of course you have to do everything else along with that. Similarly, ESG, like I said before, helps you to actually differentiate also, and we'll talk about that, Sriram and I, how it helps you. But it creates everything else being equal between two companies. If I am a client or if I am someone who's looking for services, IT services, I will always look for a trustworthy business partner. And how do I know you're trustworthy? Of course, you have to walk the talk when I deal with you, but also your perception, which comes out when you do good corporate good, when you do and work with the community, when you're perceived as a good ESG player, also, rubs in to that effect. So that is also important, We'll talk more about these when we have the dialogue to really see concrete action items there. How do we approach ESG? I think that's a question which everyone asks. What do I do? What do I do first? I thought, we are all coming from an IT background. We all run IT companies. Why not look at sprints and marathons, agile methodology? So this is a kind of a new slide. I think some of you might not have seen this before. I'm happy to share it later with you also. In a nutshell, what this says is, and this applies to every project you do in life actually, or in your personal life also, that you need to make quick impact. You need to always, show the momentum and get the momentum, especially if you have many people along with you. So you need to have sprint to show the impact and to do course correction, but you also need to build a foundation, right? So you need to run sprints and you need to run that big marathon also. So what are the sprints you can do? And we'll talk about that, Sriram and I. You need commitment, first of all. So if there's no commitment coming from the CXO level or the CEO, then I don't think you can run ESG, right? You cannot just do it piecemeal. So the first thing is CXO commitment. Then you start actually understanding what is important for you. So a lot of people, talk to their stakeholders, talk to the employees. You get a sense of what is important for the industry or for themselves. So that's called materiality, basically. And then you start collecting the data primarily on ESG. So you make someone accountable in your company for ESG. It could be someone in your strategy team, someone in your facilities, someone could be in HR. So primarily ESG data is coming from environment, facilities, from social is people, HR, and your governance is primarily coming from legal and IT teams. And IT is there everywhere actually. So you need to work out who can be your point person, who you make accountable and who gets that data, collects the data manually, and starts measuring. Because if you don't measure things, there's no point investing money and doing something, right? Of course, you should do LEDs, you should do motion sensor, you should do all the very basics. But to really move things, I think you need to start measuring first. So that's important. And then, of course, getting to quick wins, which I talk about and which Ram will talk about later also. And then you start building the foundation, in terms of actually getting your key facts, which are your key facts where you are lacking in ESG, where there's a gap which is perceived by your stakeholders. Work on that. Is it DEI? Is it environment? Is it something else? And then you create your differentiation, which you'll talk about also. So that takes time. So that takes time. But you need to start working on it, do the quick wins, learn from them, and start building also the foundation. I think this is my last slide, right? Is it? Yes. Oh, okay. Our program. Quickly, I'll just talk about our program. So the NASSCOM charter for our member companies, we focus on environmental sustainability. We have two strategies. One is to engage, which is this dialogue and similar dialogue and one-to-one engagements also with our member companies. We are also creating collaterals as part of a playbook where it will be, right now I'm working with one startup and one experienced player on an assessment, a self-assessment questionnaire. So you understand what are the things which are required to be really comprehensive in ESG, but then you understand also where you are lacking. So we are trying to make that in Excel, and once we get that, then we get a web version also. We are working with a lot of knowledge partners to build quick wins. What should you do if you are on a lease facilities, and we're going to build with really the colliers and the candors and really the people who understand facilities infrastructure. So those are the kind of quick guides we're going to build, or playbooks. Similarly, we'll do experience sharing and mentoring because that's very important. So we will have sessions where an expert comes in or where an experienced third party comes in, gives information, and then you have a follow-up with them if required. And in some cases, we might mentor you or pair you with someone also if you would like that. So this and many more are there in our work. And then, of course, the advocacy part, which is, I think, the key for NASSCOM and for our members, that we want to amplify all the good work which either the more evolved players or even some of the less evolved players are doing. And I think Sriram has a wonderful story, which I will hold on to. So we will do those workshops, green tables, where we disseminate information, because ESG is not just differentiation for you, it is differentiation for our own industry. So we will look at green coding practices, tech for ESG. So these are some of the topics. I think tech for ESG, we've already published a report with McKinsey last month, but we'll start drilling down further into specifics, and start working on those, and also release certain, collaterals on those. And of course, we will pull our startups. So ESG focused startups. I'm working with a couple of them. I'm very optimistic because they're very hungry. They will work, to really get the things done compared to an experienced player where they'll take more time maybe. So I'm working with some of them, and we'll soon have a list of resources which we will open up for you also, saying, if you need help in waste management, this is the person in North Zone. If you need help in doing a measurement or a carbon footprinting, here are 3 people who you can talk to. So we're trying to build that kind of a directory of services or Rolodex also, which is not going to be available for everyone. It is only going to be available to people who really buy into our program, in principle agree to it, and then we guide them. So that's where we will open up all these bouquet of resources for them in the playbook. So that is my final slide. And okay, I will hold on the questions for later. What I'll do is I will switch to a non-share mode. Okay, and I will also introduce Sriram, who needs no introduction. Sriram is, as Saurabh said, he's a co-founder of, he's a founder of Integra. He's the CEO and MD of the company, which is running for 25 years. And Sriram, I love to have this chat with you. My first question to you always is, that when I look at ESG, and it seems so overwhelming, even my slides to me seem very overwhelming. How does one approach ESG? You are in the space similar to your peers here, in that space, and you evolved yourself as a company. How did you approach ESG? What did you do as your maybe first?
Thanks, Anuj and Saurabh. It's a very, very useful introductory ESG presentation, Anuj, and you're covered. So at whatever important factors, concerns, opportunities, implementation approach, and you have linked with UN development goals also. That's very good. Thank you. And coming to your question, so there are multiple ways we can do. So I want to share about what we have done in our company. One is ES also touched upon, Anuj also touched upon. CXO commitment is the first step. So in our company, as a owner, as a MD and CEO, as a founder, so I have a full commitment because I'm concerned about the environment. So every 5 years, 1 to 1.5 degrees centigrade is going up because of various climatic problem. So it is our duty to leave the earth in good shape. So first step is CXO commitments. Second one, have a vision and a pledge. Announce it publicly. It's not only you are keeping it within you. So you should have some sort of positive moral pressure because you are telling publicly. So what do you mean by that? So I'm shared. So what is our Integra's vision and pledge in LinkedIn, Twitter, and our own website? So in our company, Integra has taken a pledge to be a carbon neutral company by 2030. It is very, very aggressive. So we have taken and we are working on that. So second step is have a vision and pledge. Third one is part of your strategy, bring it, as well as part of functional departmental goals also you bring it. That is the third step you should do. So it should be part of your strategy. So what is the part of your strategy? What is that you are going to do? I'm giving an example of here. I'm going to focus more on environment. What is that energy efficiency you are going to do? What is that water efficiency you are going to do? What is that waste reduction you are going to do? This is what I'm talking about. It's a easily you can implement. It should be part of your strategy. You are having a top line strategy is that, bottom line strategy is that. You should add, in addition to that, you should add this also. It should be part of your company's DNA, not only with the CXO level. Once it is part of the strategy, so that you can deploy down the line as well. So, and it should be part of the functional goals. This is a third step. So fourth one, you should look at to coordinate all this, collecting data, energy, water, waste management, emission levels. So you require a very, very small team. So appoint a sustainability officer. One person should be responsible or accountable for this. Either if you have resources, you have a dedicated person. If you don't have resources, very well, you can give additional responsibility. So in our company, so our quality head is heading. So, and we have, of course, we have a sustainability officer as well. So we are having a 3-member key team. So one is Daisy is heading this, and Advait is a sustainability officer, and Vijay Sri. So they're all doing, I'm just giving an example. This is a fourth step. You should put one person responsible for this. So, and then in addition to that, so it is a cross-functional also. The next step is you should create a cross-functional team. So what is that? So you should have one person from facilities, because that person is going to handle energy related. So he's going to handle water related. So similar way, one person from operations and one person from procurement or purchase, because we should implement part of our procurement also wherever required. So a little later I'll cover. So procurement person also should be responsible. One HR person, one finance person, because some investment required so that they can able to relate and then take up within finance. So this is a cross-functional team. The next step is to start monitoring and reviewing. This is a critical point. So it's not only creating and then leaving it. So part of the, in case you're having a formal board in our company, though it's a privately held company. So we have a board, formal board. We have 2 independent directors. So we are discussing in our board as well. What is that we are doing? And we are sharing in our board. They are also guiding us. That is the first step, board level governance. Second one is top management level governance. So we should review periodically, once in 2 months or once in a month, based on your frequency, you can look at and then do. Third one, earlier we have created a CFT team. So they should meet regularly and then move the needle upward. So whatever required in the ESG area. Maybe initially you can take whatever the related with carbon emissions. A little later we can touch upon scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions are there. Maybe you can take initially scope 1 and 2, and then you can start implementing. Maybe later you can look at scope 3 and then you can start implementing. These are all the very high level approach, Anuj. So this is what we have done. So that's what I have shared with you and the entire team.
Thank you so much, Sriram. I mean, I will just echo that I have had the privilege of talking to or visiting at least 2025. So visited about 5-6 campuses and at least 25-30 member companies I've talked to, and maybe more also indirectly, either through the materiality matrix, which I was a stakeholder, I had to fill. And what I saw as a common theme is some of the points I'll reiterate, that, you know, that commitment. I think that commitment is very important. The commitment comes, and we'll talk about also the commitment from the employees later. How do you involve them? But I could see that, you know, the people I talked to, whether it was a senior leader, whether it was and some of them didn't even have a sustainability officer. You know, they just had someone who was double hatting. So someone who was already in the HR department or was in the facilities or legal team was double hatting temporarily, of course, because I think you need to first start the program, get it going. And then once you start building that credibility and see that it's working well, then you start devoting individual accountability for that maybe. But you can always start with the double hatting also of someone getting another responsibility for that. So that was very clear for me also that, and then the third was measurement, because most of them said that we need to measure also, because we can't just, and the goals are very important, everything is important, but if we have a sense of the measurement, then we know where we are, and then we know where we can go. You know, if you don't know where you are in your journey, then also it is not good. So I think that was a very clear thing which I got from them. So thanks for that. I will just maybe add up or build up on this question. And that's another thing which a lot of people I ask and they ask me in turn is, you know, I have done, so different people have different questions. If you're starting the journey, they ask me, okay, what could be my quick wins? because everyone, especially when I show my sprint and marathon, they say, okay, what are the quick wins? What are the quick wins? Is there some magic bullet? Please give me that, and I will do those 3 or 5 things you tell me. And some people ask very specifically, I've done and I'm evolved. What more can I do? You tell me, what more can I do? I am already in this quadrant. I'm already in this rating agency of framework, ESG framework. I'm this. What more can I do? So both sides are there. So I'll just highlight some from NASSCOM and then I'll turn it over to you, Sriram. So like in NASSCOM, when I had joined, we actually were still thinking, how do we do ESG for our member companies? How do we help them? But I posed a question that what about us? As NASSCOM, we have 200, 240 employees. We have few locations. We have a campus in Noida, but I think we should walk the talk. So it's very important that we look at inwards and we try to do our own assessment and measurement, which we are now doing with one of companies. But what are the things we can do? And we realized that, we were using initially, we are quite eco-friendly. So I'm very proud that we have nearly 100% LEDs everywhere, barring a few where it's, some reasons are there. But mostly all LEDs, the building has been constructed that you get natural light, so you minimize. One thing which we were very clear about was that solar. So we were using solar water heaters for hot water during the winter. And I'm very proud that we moved the needle there. And now we are looking at solar panels to get approximately maybe 10% of our energy consumption in the next few months when that project comes through from solar. So that will be a big plus for us in terms of renewable energy. We are looking at, and this is all, just because I triggered the thought, and then people came up with ideas. The finance head comes up, the facility person, the HR person. So everyone then starts coming up with ideas. Then I visited Mindtree and I saw that, they have a very unique concept that they don't have any paper tissues. I think the restroom also doesn't have. And when you go to the cafeteria, definitely they don't serve you. And then they also record how much food is wasted the previous day. So they have a stat which shows that this much food was thrown, so when people leave something on the plate, either they throw it or when they collect it, they throw it in a dustbin and they weigh how much was the wastage for the previous day. And then they say this much food could actually have fed so many people. So that's again a sensitization of resources of Mother Earth. And we have implemented similar in our NASSCOM cafeteria also in Noida, that we are giving a stat of how much food was wasted or was thrown away the previous day. And the rule of thumb we are saying is 1 kg can feed 3 people. So if you throw about 1 kg of food, it could feed 3 people. So that's a rule which has come from the UN also, I think. So I'm very proud that we have been able to do many such things, and we are going to do the bigger ones also. But always people say, what more can I do? So Sriram, turning it over to you. What can I do, or what more can I do?
Yes, I think a few very good examples you have covered, Anuj. Maybe at a very high level, 3 areas I'll cover. One is water efficiency area, what we have done, and energy efficiency area, what we have done, and waste reduction area. So if you look at water efficiency area, so we are doing a sewage treatment plant is there. Whatever we are consuming or using, so we are using the sewage treatment plant, we are reusing into our toilet flushing and gardening. So it's again in 2006, our main office inaugurated. That time there is no law or regulations. Proactively we have taken, we want to install, we don't want to pump virgin water from the earth. We want to conserve. That time itself, I'm talking about 2006. 2010 only in Pondicherry, there is a law has come out that is mandatory. So all the offices, so above so many people, they should have own sewage treatment plant. So before letting out. So we have installed in 2006. So that is one. So if you look at that, annually we are close to 17.24 million liters we are consuming. So for toilet flushing, washing, and various things, canteen area, various areas. Close to, because of we have installed a sewage treatment plant, 58% of the water, close to 10 million liters annually we are reusing. We are not pumping from earth. So that is the first saving. So it is possible in your company itself, either if your own office you can do, or if you are having a third party, so business centers and other areas, you can take up with them and then you insist that, so because you are consuming, so they should do. That way also you can cut. So that is the one area. Second area is rainwater harvesting. So close to 1 million liter. So we are directly injecting into the earth. So that way we are recharging the earth. So with 1 million liter per annum. Third one, so we have forestry, so maybe a little later I'll cover. So we are created a multiple ponds, so around 11 different ponds we have created, close to 33 million liters during rainy season. We are storing and we are recharging the aquifer. So these are all the 2-3 examples in the water area. If you look at energy area, so earlier years also, Anuj also touched upon, we have created our own solar power plant in our roof terrace, and close to 100 kilowatt we have installed. And remaining, so we are looking at next 3 years, we are looking at a land and we want 100% renewable energy. So we want to use in the next 3 years. 10% already we have done, 100 kilowatt is installed in our own office campus. Second one, one is natural lighting. In addition to that, we have converted 95% of our lighting from CFL to LED lighting. So because of that, it's a huge saving. Yeah, initially investment is there, but you will get a return on investment in few years because energy savings are there. And we have created a e-vehicle also, whatever we are buying in the company. So we have started buying only either hybrid or e-vehicle. And next few years will be completely will be transitioning. Existing vehicle also will be converted into either hybrid or e-vehicle, or will be disposing. So these are all the few examples. And in our campus in Pondicherry, we have a separate parking area for bicycle. We want to encourage our employees because it's a small town, so they can come in. They need not come in two-wheelers. They need not come in cars. They can come into bicycles. We are having a separate area. They can come and then they can park. So these are the various things we are doing. Of course, more and more natural lighting. So a lot of glasses, big windows with the glasses, and double glazed also we have done so that heat resistancy will not come inside because of vacuum is there in the double glazing windows. These are all the various examples of whatever we have done in the energy efficiency area. And if you look at waste reduction area, so e-waste we have done. We are collecting a separate area for collecting e-waste within the company for our own employees. Not only employees, we have gone further. We wanted to, family members are also, so they can come and then dispose here. So we are having a certified agencies are available, authorized agencies certified by the government. We are disposing through them. If you dispose in a neighborhood, so it will contaminate. We are pumping water from there. So either through bore well or normal well. So it is going to contaminate. It's not good for our health. So we have done this in the e-waste area. Similar way, we are in publishing services industry. So we have reduced a lot of paper usage also. Last 10 years, 4 times we have reduced. And no single-use plastic also we have done. These are all the few examples, Anuj.
Thank you so much, Sriram. I'm just a little bit mindful of time, but I think I can totally identify with some of them, and most of them actually. And I would just like to add that when I talk to most companies where they don't have their own campus, it becomes slightly difficult, the levers, but they are levers. You know, the levers are there in seeing what you can do, like a motion sensor. It's quite easy, whether you do in restrooms, whether you do in meeting rooms where you could do it, so that, you know, you don't, because a lot of people think they just exit a room and they think the lights will automatically switch off. They're living in a 2100 world already. So that's not the reality. Everything is not automated. So that's important that we automate that. And we create awareness also with people that, you know, just make sure that the lights are switched off if you don't have motion sensor in certain rooms. Similarly, when I talk to other people who didn't have campuses, they said, you know, can I go to my landlord or facilities person? I said, yes, why not? You know, in fact, we are trying to build some collaterals with colliers and candle, like I'm saying, but it is in your right to go and ask. And you have to just ask, what can we do? Because don't assume that you have to build a green LEED building always from scratch. There's a lot of retrofitting. There's a lot of technology intervention now which can be done, which can be, you know, bolted on. So you can do small adjustments, like motion sensor is one such thing. So you can do very small adjustments which can give you good payback. You know, and the facilities teams are always willing to hear, and they can come up with more ideas from their side also. So I would encourage that from our participants. Okay, my final question, and before we open up to the audience, would be that how do you engage your key stakeholders in this journey, your employees and your clients, which are really the two backbones for you, you know, for any company, IT company especially. how do you engage them? So I can just relate some of the examples I have that NASSCOM, of course, doesn't have clients, but we have internal clients, let's say. But talking about employees, I can say that we are empowering employees. We are trying to make them, I would not call them green champions, but we are trying to empower them to start engaging and giving ideas. Like some of the ideas which came were from them, about similarly, like in the restroom, why should we have both hand dryers and face and paper tissues for wiping the hands? Cannot we not do one? Because either what happens is people do both. People first use the dryer, then they go and pull the paper, and then you are actually using both resources. So then we said, okay, let's do an experiment and let's get rid of the paper in certain restrooms and see how it looks and sensitize people. Maybe in winter it's a little bit difficult because the hand dryer, but I think we can manage that. So we started such things. Similarly, asking people for more ideas, for the employees, how they can take the lead, and if they walk the talk, we walk the talk. I think then the company, when the client comes or when people come, they see themselves, how the people are mindful. Like we are trying to remove dustbins now, because why should everyone have a dustbin at their feet? We don't even have so much paper now. So why have dustbins? Have dustbins maybe in one side of the hall or second side of the hall, that's it. So some of the ideas came from our employees. So turning it over to you, Sriram, what do you think? How can we engage? And I think you have some good examples, I know, for employees and for clients.
So it's very, very important point you have raised, Anuj. So maybe I'll start with clients, what we have done. So every year, normally we'll be sending, because we are doing a lot of foreign clients out there. So we'll be sending a unique gift, we'll identify and then we'll ship. And instead of we are doing that, few years back, we have stopped sending whatever that unique gift. We have created in 2014 our own Integra private forest. Close to 10,000 trees we have planted in our farm and created as a forest. And in and around Pondicherry and Kadalur also, we have planted around close to 20,000 trees, part of Dr. Abdul Kalam, is the ex-president. He has done initiatives. So we have done that. So close to 30,000 trees we have planted. What we have started doing 6-7 years back, instead of sending a gift, we have started planting a tree. So for New Year, so gift should be a green certificate gift. That is what we have done. And every year, it's not a one time. So take a photo and then leave. We are nurturing that. We are having a name of the person is there in the board is there. And what is the name of the tree? What is the number of the tree, certificate number? So all that is planted and it will be there. So we will take a tree, not only the tree. So that name board also will be taking so that his name will be there. So, and which year we have planted, so that they can track. So, and we have linked with the QR code also a few years back. Now we are planning to do next year onwards geotagging also, so that live they can see. That is what we are looking at. So it's a big advantage. Genuinely we have done and nurtured. So whenever I'm visiting, before they are asking me, how are you? They'll be asking, how is my tree is doing? So that is the first question. So there is an emotional bond is there. That's very, very important. We have done genuinely that we are able to connect. So we have to connect, social connect, emotional connect, business connect. All these are very, very important. Because of this we have done. So there is a lot of emotional connect is there. And whenever they are visiting every year, they'll be asking. So every year we are during first week of January, we'll take a photo and then we'll create a certificate. So, and we are sending every customers. So that is a big, very powerful impact. Just want to share. Not only that, so if you look at 2 years back, no one has asked about ESG. No one has asked about sustainability. So 1 year back, some customers started asking more info. What exactly you are doing? They just started asking information about ESG and sustainability. And 6 months back, they have started sending questionnaire also. So we have filled and then sent. So 3 months back, they started auditing also. Few foreign customers started doing auditing in our company. It is very, very important. Now they are linking with RFI and RFP process as well. They are giving a weightage now. So we have gone through, if you look at last 1 year, around 10 foreign clients asked about what exactly we are doing in ESG, what exactly we are doing in our sustainability area. And so it is very, very important. So I want to sensitize our SME, NASSCOM SME community members. So please, you already started doing, it's a fantastic. In case you are not doing, So customers, foreign customers will be started asking. Already they have started asking. We are providing information. It's a question of time. It's a question of 2 years gap, 3 years gap. The Indian companies are also will be started asking this information, whatever required, and they are giving a weightage in our bidding process. If they are selecting two companies, somebody has done ESG or sustainability initiative, somebody has not done, so they are giving a weightage, and then they are giving awarding contracts to the whoever has done in the ESG area, sustainability area. They are very, very conscious, foreign clients, especially in Europe, especially in North America. So it is important. That is the reason. So in NASSCOM, so from SME Council, so we are doing this initiative for SME member companies, and Anuj is heading the ESG Council as well. So that it is very important. So please start looking at this series. This is on the customer side. On the employee side, we have started involving, like earlier I have talked about. So we are having a cross-functional team. We are having a suggestion schemes. So they have given a lot of ideas. So e-waste has come from our team only. Reduction of paper usage also, how we can do. So whatever we have taken, number of pages will be taking a printout for proofreading, copy editing. We have done a digital adoption. So now we have created a software so that they can do whatever required through laptops, through computers. They need not take a printout. Similar way for plastic waste reduction. And so in our boardrooms, so earlier we'll have a plastic mineral water bottles. Now we have shifted to glass water bottles. And even earlier he has touched upon dryers. These all come from, once you start involving, these are all low-hanging fruits. So a lot of ideas you will get from CFT team, a lot of ideas you'll get from your employees. So we can do, and including CFL lighting to LED lighting. So all come from our employees. So please involve. So one is on the customer angle, it's important. And you require ideas. And so you can involve your CFT team, involve your employees. You'll get a lot more ideas and inputs and low-hanging fruits you can start implementing in your company.
Thank you, Sriram. I would just like to iterate that it's also, and then I'll take some of the questions. What we are seeing is also that the clients want to, also some of them are pivoting their businesses towards a more ESG conscious business, right? So even when they are making consumer products, then they're looking at circular technology, circular economy. They're trying to see minimize wastage. And in most cases, IT will get involved. And so they will always look upon the IT partner. Maybe today they might not be looking at you, but some other IT partner. But if we don't get into it, when I'm saying we, I mean as a MSME or as an SME company, I don't get into ESG. I don't learn the nitty-gritties. It's actually a big opportunity area also for me to actually make new products and services for my clients, or help them rather with that, as a partner. And there it's very collaborative then, because ESG is very nascent still, so the battle is still being fought on many fronts. Standards about what to report, what is ESG, what is not ESG. Someone has asked me a question on CSR. I'll answer that also. So important thing is, if you don't do it yourself, you will not learn it. If you will not learn it, how will you be able to do it for your clients? If you don't do it for your clients, this is the next service line actually, which will come up, and you may not be part of that service line. So that is also some of the things one should just think in your mind when you're looking at, because it could be the next service line, and therefore straight top line impact. Okay, great. So I'll take the first question, which was about difference in ESG CSR. I think that's very straightforward. See, CSR is primarily as mandated. I mean, so not mandated earlier. We were always doing it, but of late, of course, it was mandated that 2% of your profits get used for CSR activities. When you say CSR, the definition of CSR is primarily understood to be that you take this amount of money and you impact someone who is not in your company. So you impact outside the company. You either impact individuals or communities or institutions through an NGO or directly. And then you have to actually get an audit done to say that really you have impacted someone and it has made a difference. So it has not been, it's not a CSR washing. So CSR is outward. ESG is most of it is inward, because you will of course talk to your stakeholders, but you will actually do things inside your company to either reduce your carbon footprint, to make your energy more efficient, to improve your water efficiency, waste management, or towards your employees, giving them better training, better facilities, employee health and well-being, or DEI, try to get more women in the workforce or people of other abilities. So So it's more, a lot of the factors of ESG are more inward, and you have to actually put your own money inward to get it done. So that's the big difference in the two. So that is one. I hope that answers the question. Another question is regarding about, are there any ESG calculators on the ESG? So I think safe to say that there are many products in the market. I have talked to a few of my member companies who are more involved. Most of them either have built their own product because they're IT companies and they realize there's no good product, or they feel that, every way, some people want to give equal weightage to E, S, and G. Some people say no. And when you do the rating agencies like Dow Jones Sustainability Index, or the MSCI, or even the CRISIL Sustainability, everyone has different ways in which they weigh in, right? So some might give something like 40, 30, 30 or different. I would suggest that, you should look at your own materiality. So that means you look at your stakeholders, talk to them, your employees, your key clients. Don't talk to everyone, talk to the top 20%. They'll give you all the inputs. Talk to your employees, of course, and talk to a trade association like us and any other neutral party to get a sense of what are the key themes for ESG, under ESG. And for most companies, they are more or less similar. But the important part is, where are you in that theme? So in diversity, are you already at an industry standard of 30-35%, or are you still at 25%? Just gender, I'm saying. So that is the key question then. So if you're below, then you need to pull up, right? Because, or if you're doing well, then you continue that and maybe focus on something else then, So that's where materiality makes a big difference. So depending on where you are strong or not so strong, I think you will have to put your energy and your money elsewhere in those programs. So you can have calculators. I would not recommend calculators. We are building a checklist. We'll share it with you very shortly in February. The checklist gives you an idea of, ideally, this is what all you should do in ESG, the themes, and primarily for IT sector, because we're not manufacturing, right? So it becomes easier. Then in that, we try to find out where you are okay and where you are not okay. And that itself is a revelation. And then you can do a probing of that hypothesis by asking that's materiality, asking your stakeholders, your employees, is it really what is the gap, so, or where am I not there? And that's which will reinforce your thought. Okay, I want to put my money in maybe strengthening maybe I'm doing many things, but they're not being perceived. So maybe my strengthening is in my communication and my storytelling, or my strengthening is in the fact that my DEI is a little bit weak, or the strengthening is that my vision is not communicated. Maybe the vision is only in the CXO's mind. So there are many such things which will come out only if you actually first do a questionnaire, understand, approach, and then talk to the stakeholders to get a deeper meaning in that.
Just only one point I want to add, Anuj.
Of course.
Yeah, in addition to whatever Anuj has covered on the ESG calculator, there are, if you Google, there are so many calculators, ESG calculators are available. EcoVadis is there, it's a French-based company. There is a carbon footprint calculator, esgsystems.com is there. There are so many things out there. So you can use, certain things are free, so you can use that, and then you can find out, so what is that? So there are ESG calculators are available in the public domain.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just two examples.
And most of them are also pivoting towards India conditions, because that is very important, especially from an energy perspective, because energy, the factoring and part of renewable, non-renewable, it's a lot of factors are there, which like Sriram saying. So one looks at the calculator, looks at the India version. Why not try it? And we are trying to, we will not be building a full calculator, but we'll provide you kind of a help sheet on how do you calculate your scope 1 or scope 2. Just take your energy bill from first principles. Take this number, look at the state where you are in, what is the quotient of renewable energy for that state from the DISCOM. So there are some assumptions you have to make, of course, because everything is not easy. That's why the calculators have not been fully successful, I would say. They have been partially successful, but that's a good point. Okay, then about reporting. Are there any standard reporting for procedures or formats for ESG? So there are basically, yes, we have standards and we have frameworks and we have guides. So the frameworks are like CDPs there, TCFD, Task Force on Climate-Related Change. And the more important ones, I would say, are GRI. So that's it's a non-profit, and that's the most commonly used. It's from Europe. The full form, I'm not sure, but it basically talks about sustainability-related, environmental-related, all three ESG-related framework to help you. and it gives you clear guidelines. BRI gives you. SASB, SASB, which is now part of value reporting, also does that. IFRS is also actually now getting into the act. So they have announced last year, 2021, sorry. So year before last, they announced that they are trying to now build standards, to have standardization. So IFRS has clear guidelines how to report financial information. So ESG information, which is non-financial, they're also trying to standardize. But invariably, what will happen is, and that's what a question which has been asked also, is about sector specific. Sector specificity is a lot there, especially on the E part. S and G to less extent, but the E is, depending on whether you're manufacturing, non-manufacturing, within services, your E becomes very, very different. So they will have to also do that by sector, because you cannot have one size fits all. So we will have to wait for that. But I would say in India, there's BRSR. So even if you're not going to do BRSR because you're not in that mandated 1,000 and maybe later also, I would suggest pick it up. Just take it and see, because it's very, very easy, because the government, the SEBI, what SEBI has done, it has given a very good guideline of the calculation. So it gives you a way to calculate. And if you start putting in your numbers, or if you don't have the numbers, then you're forced to go and get the numbers. And if you get the calculations or take the help of someone to get the calculations done, you'll be surprised, that, oh, it can be done. And these are my numbers. So I would suggest BRSR should be just taken by most Indian companies without thinking too much, That's very easy. And I can send you the links later also. It's all pretty well explained. And we'll have a follow-up session on BRSR also. So we will get an expert, and we'll try to get some of the common questions maybe for that. And then we'll have a more very specific question, not on just slide, but what are the key challenges? What are the calculations where there's complexity or where there's ambiguity? And maybe we'll try to have that kind of a working session. Or maybe we could have one or two if there's an interest in that. I could say that.
Yeah, just want to add, Anuj,
Yes.
what you have shared. So right now it is not mandatory. So ESG, the BRSR, it's only for listed companies. If we do proactively, so that is the reason we are organizing in NASSCOM. That is what Anuj has presented. So there is no enforcement will be there in the future. That's what. In case we are not following, so then they'll start implementing for big private limited companies. Then later for SMEs, one by one, they'll start implementing. Proactively, we should do, because it is our responsibility, collective responsibility. So we should do this together.
Absolutely. So I echo your thoughts, Sriram, that one needs to be a little bit proactive in ESG. Be proactive in thinking. Don't get overwhelmed. So those are my closing messages also. Are there any other questions? Or just think, I think we've covered most of the key questions also, right? And maybe last 5 minutes we can give if anyone has a question. But what I would say is that focus. So that's what, when I heard a lot of companies who have just started the journey. So I'm talking about companies like KPIT, who I dealt with, who are now publishing the first sustainability report. And it's quite a big company, right? So there are a lot of companies like that who may have done it internally, but now they're confident enough to publish, because once you publish a report, you have to first of all measure as per some framework of standard, and you have to get it audited by a third party, to say that these numbers are making sense. And it could be a Big Four, or it could be a DMV or a BSI. So there are many agencies who do that audit also. But that is the requirement if you're publishing it externally, extensive numbers, etc. Because someone has to really see and check, which is important. So what I would suggest is that is the final aim of everyone. But to get there, I think the small steps to reiterate are focus. So understand ESG, learn about it, attend forums, ask your peer groups, ask your network, get information. Then see where you want to play. And I tell a lot of people that you'll be surprised. You are doing many good things in ESG you don't know about. When I joined NASSCOM, I actually sat and unearthed a lot of the things which I talked about solar and about panels and about, I didn't talk about STP, but we have STP also, rainwater harvesting, everything we have. But we don't talk about it. Now we said we'll publish a video also, and we'll showcase it. Let our employees know, because if the employees are not knowing these things, they think, oh, the company is fine. But when you amplify this within your company, they feel very proud. Oh, my company is actually doing this. My company is doing this. It's a talking point for them with their friends. With their clients also, prospective employees, rather, sorry.
Anuj,
so, yeah.
Sorry, Nikhil is raised a hand. So
okay.
You wanted to ask something.
Sure.
Hi, Anuj. My name is Nikhil Kumar. I head the human resource function for a company called Electrodrive Powertrain Solutions. We're a company owned and promoted by Mr. Ratan Tataji in personal capacity. We recently went through the entire ESG due diligence. And what I understood from the entire process is that the framework is so wide, And there are very few practitioners or professionals who understand the framework very correctly. Now, what is my request from NASSCOM is that, can we set up or maybe a training program, where a workshop where you can really train our people. You can ask some nominations from the member companies, and there could be the first step for our journey to build a good ESG practice. I have interviewed close to 30, 40 people on ESG. I can tell you, half-baked information. Sorry to with due respect to everyone, but the information is very, very inadequate. They have just some piece of the ESG. They have done either E or they have done G. S is missing, or if done S, then other two is missing.
True.
So this is and there's no question. This is more my suggestion to the panels and the NASSCOM, that if you can really do something like this is really helpful to all of us.
So let me answer, you Nikhil here. So basically, we will be happy to support you, with your requirement, because we have a dedicated chatter, who is looking at the E factor, which is ESG, and also we have a team within NASSCOM which is looking at the diversity and inclusion. Okay, so so on the and governance, I believe you are there to take care of yourself. So certainly it is a place where we'll be happy to engage with you on these two elements at least. And not just that, looking at the requirements that many of the SME member companies that we have here or outside who could not join us today, we are planning to drive or form a cohort of at least 30 to 35 companies in this year. We want to close this by March 2023. And we want to handhold them in their ESG journey. Okay, if somebody is at the basic level, we want to help them to take the first plunge, or if somebody has done some kind of work, we would like to help them to take the leap. To catalyze their ESG journey. So that's the plan that we have, and that's exactly the thing which Anuj is currently working on, to work out a playbook for the SMEs for as far as ESG is concerned. So we'll be happy to work with you, and not just that, as a part of that program, if you are keen, then we'll be happy to onboard you. And plus, on the top of that, and once you are there, we'll be happy to do workshops. So we'll be happy to share the assets with regard to ESG, and we would be happy to help you with mentoring as well, because going forward, what we have felt that having a right mentor and who could handhold them or guide them is going to be equally important. So we have some plans for that, and we'll happy to engage with your company like yours going forward. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. So just to add, I think very well said, Saurabh. I totally echo that. So Nikhil, we are mindful of this. There is a challenge here, is that we don't want to build too much content, because we want to leverage also. So I'm talking to already CII. I'm also talking to some of our member companies, where we can first just do the awareness about the frameworks, the standards. And I realize the point that there's a shortage of practitioners. So how we train them, and what kind of a training academy do we need to do a full day? Like CI does a 2 or 3 days. HCL Shivnadar does a 3-day, which they certify. They've tied up with an agency. So we have to work out the modalities. It may not come very soon, but like Saurabh said, we are already mindful of it. We will start getting the need. So if there are many people like you who have that need, who raise that hand, so then we can see, yeah, this is a need, and we'll factor it in our plan for this year for sure. Whether it happens in this quarter, I cannot promise, but we will try to make it happen. And we will have a lot of the awareness creation, which Saurabh was saying. And like DEI, Lenika, my colleague, heads that. So we will also try to, I don't want to, go there yet, because it actually comes under ESG, but she runs it very well. It has been going on for 1.5 years. And I think DEI has reached a very credible state, as you know, right? As an HR practitioner, that DEI has reached a credible state, both in the world and in India, in terms of how do you measure it, the various nuances beyond gender and others, right? So it has reached that critical stage where there's uniformity in thinking, in application, and in getting the results. I think ESG, unfortunately, has not reached that stage yet, right? Because there are 3 different themes, and depending on the weightage you want to give, I hear you. So I hear you. The problem is understood. Hopefully, we will come up with some good answers very soon. Thank you so much.
So in addition to that, whatever Shaurav and Anuj mentioned, Nikhil, so we'll be releasing this year in the ESG Council as well as in the SME Council. We are working on that series of assessment document, checklist, so and playbook, best practices, case studies, all that one by one will be start releasing for the member companies.
Thank you very much. Very much. Really good. In fact, I could have one more idea, which this particular thing, ESG, will also here to create a lot of jobs. Today there are a lot of jobs which are fading up. There some of the jobs are becoming obsolete. This is new. The best way if you have to bring a lot of quality in my company is make more auditors within the organization. So automatically your quality part will go up. The same thing if you want to really bring ESG as the word which is to be embraced every day, morning to evening to the night. The best way is to create so much awareness among the people that people really think, oh wow, there's a career in ESG and I should go to the ESG. Today, who's going to ESG? You also know very well, I know very well. So I think this should be more glorified, need to be more advertised, to be sold very effectively and make people feel that yes, what you are doing should be passionate and this is how we are going to help the country. This is what are my closing remarks. Thank you very much. Guys have been outstanding and very passionate about ESG. And when I hear people like you, I get more passionate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the appreciation. Appreciate that really.
So Anuj, before we close in for this session, we are already gone beyond our scheduled time. There is last question that has come up on the chat. Like somebody is asking if we are not a listed company, but we are based out of Delhi with clients all over. Is there any certificate or something you issue to SMEs as proof of the SME initiatives that you are doing, or any certificate that they can share with the clients or so it? So
okay.
Yeah, can you just just take that questions how they can show the ESG things to their clients? Anything from?
So so ESG is there are two parts of ESG. One is, of course, when you publish the report and give the facts, and when you give the facts of like you're committing that your current baseline is this, and you're going to a net zero or carbon neutral window in 5 years, 10 years, like Sriram said, they are aiming for 2030. You will generally have a roadmap. So they want to see a roadmap. So that requires audit. But what you're asking about the certification, I think if you have things you've done well and you want to talk about them, you don't need to get them certified. No one is stopping you from going to your website or even do a very good job of putting it all together. I think that's where most companies do it piecemeal, that the HR team and the CSR foundation or the CSR team picks up certain things they've done outside, which is CSR, which is part of ESG also, because if you're helping other people in your community, it is part of ESG in the social part. They talk about that in isolation. Then the ISEC team and the data privacy team, if they have had no breaches, etc., that's just listed as a mandatory governance point, and maybe some policies on anti-bribery and anti-this as part of good governance. And on the environmental side, generally people don't talk, or they just talk about maybe a good example like Sriram gave about tree plantations or working, which could be partially CSR also, working with the community to do something on environment. But how do you get it all together? So that's the art of thinking a little bit holistically to say, okay, I think first let me talk to my employees and my clients and figure out which are the key themes for us. If I know them, I just want to bounce them up, that's fine. Then what are my strengths or let's say disadvantages compared to a peer group? Because ultimately, if you want to create the differentiation, you have to look at your peer group. What are other people doing? Can I learn from them, or is there something which I'm doing better? How do I amplify that? How do I bring it all together? So like the example Sriram gave is a very powerful example because of course they had that forest next to their campus. I think it's close to the campus, but you can invest anywhere else. Everyone has the resources. Think a little bit laterally, talk to other industry, because not necessarily all the ideas in IT industry. Talk to other industry, talk to peers, be open to learning. And then you'll see a lot of small ideas, you'll suddenly click and say, okay, this is how I should do my ESG storytelling. So no one in this world, I would say no company, whether it's a Microsoft or the big guys like Infosys, TCS, or even some of the global players, non-IT, no one is 10 on 10 on ESG everywhere. They are not. But what they do very well is they take their strengths and they amplify their strengths. And wherever they are not there, which they realize is very important for their business performance, they work on those initiatives for medium and long term. So that is what my request would be, that you don't have to go for a certification. What you have to do is you have to get the information, have a central accountability or a team, look at all your information under ESG, and then holistically look at it, amplify it, and make a roadmap for the future.
So in addition to whatever Anuj has covered, so in case your customers are asking, there are agencies are available, they will audit and then they'll give you a scores. So you can use that scores. So for example, certain rating agencies are covering bronze level or gold level or platinum level. So you can use, and then it's a specific scores will be there. It is a 40%, 60%, 75% it is there. So you can use that. So in case your customers are asking, you can ask the third party agency.
Absolutely. And that will come. I think Sriram is absolutely right that if you are not getting it already in the next 1 or 2 years, it will start coming. The moment you start knocking on some of the bigger clients' doors, they want to make their supply chain, let's say ESG compliant. So they will look at the key vendors, especially in IT, and ask them all these questions. And they will also say, we want to have a third party coming to your premises or collecting information from you. So that's where my question would come, that go to BRSR. It's free. It's available on SEBI, this thing. Pick up that information. I think Sriram would easily amplify that. If you can get BRSR sorted with the information and where you are, you have covered 60%, 70% of EcoVadis. Right, Sriram?
Sorry, Anuj. Sorry, come again. Not able to.
I was saying that if you go to BRSR guidelines from SEBI and you consciously look at them and do a kind of, in whatever way you can with the third party or with yourself, you try to measure all the items they're asking for in BSR under environment, carbon footprint,
absolutely,
water, ESG. I think you will cover 50, 67% of what an EcoVadis would have asked you. Maybe
yes,
they asked you in more detail, but the themes would have been the same.
Absolutely.
You would cover at least
Anuj.
70%. So that's the starting block for you. You don't even have to go outside.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, Anuj. So it is, they have given a clear guidelines how to measure also. So clear manuals are available, information available. So for BRSR, I think the first step is we should use BRSR. Then only we should start looking at other areas. I agree, Anuj.
Thank you. Anything else, Saurabh, we have?
Yeah, just only one point I want to add. So again, I want to reiterate, it's very, very important. So one is as an individual. So whatever is happening in the world, either a storm is there or flooding is there or very hot certain region, it is our responsibility to leave the earth in a good shape for the next generation. Second one, every 5 years, the earth is becoming warmer by 1 to 1.5 degrees centigrade. So posing a threat to a very survival of our planet. So it is our collective responsibility. In addition to that, now customers are asking, investors are asking, they want to invest, they are asking due diligence part of that, they are checking. So other stakeholders are asking, employees are started asking, it is our responsibility. So proactively, even before government is coming into enforcing this. So our own individual responsibility, our own business requirements, we should start implementing ESG. Maybe you can start with E. So environment related, then gradually you can get into social and governance factors. That's all. It's a collective responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anuj and Sriram sir, for being here today and presenting your views on this important topic. And to all the participants, all the viewers today, we'd like to thank you again for your time, because we have already overshot the time by 15 minutes, and we thank you for your patience and your interest in this topic. And we'll be happy to help you, in this ESG journey. Please write to us in case you are looking for any support from NASSCOM in this regard. And we will certainly take up, this matter and engage with you on one-to-one basis. And we will keep working on this space going forward. So be in touch with us. That would be our, suggestion or closing remarks from our side. And thank you again, and have a great weekend. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shaurav. Thank you, Anuj. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.